What is going on, YouTube? I'm working on another custom today, and today I'll be working on, oh yeah, the Frontrunnin Ford Fairmont. Check this thing out. It has been very well played with, and if you heard it while it was sliding in here on its entrance, the wheels don't really roll all that well, which is unfortunate because all you diecast racers out there know that out of the box, if these wheels are in good shape, this is one of the fastest castings out there. And coming in at a solid 50 grams, you can pretty much take it out of the package and roll it down the track. So this was originally released in 1982, and its first run was from 1982 to 1995. They came out with a couple more in 2013. And I think the last release of this casting was in 2018 with the Pop Culture Nestle series. It is rumored that these gold Hot One wheels were the very first nickel-plated axles to be released by Hot Wheels, which can account for how fast these castings are. This one was made in Hong Kong and was probably released in 82 or 83. This was also part of a McDonald's promotion, and very cool casting. So hopefully we can fix this thing up and breathe some new life into this. First things first, let's take it apart. And you can see on these older castings that there's only one post in it. So you got a little tab back here that helps hold it together, and then you got the one post. So a little different than the newer castings. These posts are kind of rounded, and to take care of that, if you just try and drill it, your drill bit's going to slip off there and probably mess up the bottom of the car. So what you need is a good punch, and put a little hole right in the center so your drill bit can have something to bite into. Alright, try and get as centered as you can, and then drill out that post. To drill out the post, I'm using a 9/64 drill bit and moderate pressure. Alright, that should do it. Let's see what we're working with here. How nasty is this going to be inside? A little bit of dirt going on in here. Looks like it was played with outside. Oh yeah, nice and crusty. Check out that glass. Think we can save that glass. Actually, it doesn't look like there's any big scratches or anything like that in it, so I think we'll be all right. A little soap and water, and the base is actually in good shape. So yeah, might not be in that bad a shape after all. Just clean her up real good. Let's go and get this paint off and see how the actual body looks. I want to do a quick shout out to Maple Leaf Matchbox Makeovers. This guy does a fantastic job on these custom diecast cars. He's only sitting at about 500 subscribers, so go over there, show some support, and if you like it, subscribe. As usual, I'm using the Citrus Strip stripping gel to take the paint off here. This paint's pretty old, and the Citrus Strip should do a really good job on it. And check that out. The Citrus Strip destroyed this paint. Once I knock off most of the paint, I go over it with some soap and water. I usually use a degreaser dish soap, such as Dawn, and make sure all the Citrus Strip and paint has been completely removed. I got the body of the car all dried off, and the body was actually in really good shape. I didn't have to spend a whole lot of time with any prep work or working on the body much, and it was time for primer. So I went over it with some Krylon Color Max paint and primer, metallic aluminum. If you've seen any of my videos, you know I use this stuff quite a bit. I think it's about that time to start working on this base, and I was able to get the front wheels out, although That axle's looking pretty nasty. All I did for this one, there's enough room to get a little flathead screwdriver in there and pry it open a little bit and get the axle and wheels out. But I kind of been working on this one a little bit, and there's just not quite enough room to get that pried open. So I think it's time for the trusty Dremel. And just like that, there they are. A lot worse for wear. Looks like the cutting blade on there tore those up pretty good, but there you have it. The wheels are out. I'm gonna probably take the Dremel, widen these grooves out a little bit more so it can accept the wheels and axles that I'm gonna put in there. And I'm gonna go over this with some soap and water, get it all cleaned up, and probably paint it, and then we'll be good to go on the base. I got the base and interior all cleaned up and painted, and while they dry, let's start working on this glass here. So I cleaned it up with some soap and water and a small toothbrush. Yeah, I cleaned it up pretty good. It's a little dull and cloudy, a little bit of yellow to it, but I think I might be able to take care of that. First off, we're going to go over it with some flits. And I've just recently started using this on a couple of my builds, and this stuff is fantastic. It works on quite a bit of things actually, metal, plastic, and fiberglass, but it works really, really well on these windshields. Very happy with how it's turned out so far, and hopefully I can get the same result with this one. Alright, so glass is all cleaned up. Got all the flits off there. We're looking pretty good. Now it is time for the gauzy. This stuff works really well, and there's not a whole lot to it. All you got to really do, dunk it in there. Make sure you get a pretty good coat on there. Let it drip off. And just dab the excess out of the corners. I think we're pretty good. After that, all I do is just set it down. And then I make sure I put something over it. Make sure no dust or anything gets on there. And just let it sit for a while. My base is all cleaned up and ready to go. It's looking pretty good. I'm really happy with the way it turned out. But before we can get this car put back together, I'm going to put some wheels and axles in there. And for this build, I decided to go with some 8-spoke monoblock wheels. I think it's going to look really good on this car when it's all put back together. So, question came up, how do you mount the wheels and axles into a car, especially a metal-based car? Well, my friends over at Redline Derby Racing make an awesome little jig. This thing is priceless, especially if we want to get these wheels lined up straight and correctly. It comes in really handy for if you're going to be racing diecast, but if you're making cars that are actually going to sit on the shelf, you want the wheels and axles to look right, so this thing is a must. So what I do to put these axles in, first I'll put a little JB weld where I tend on putting the axles. Then I'll take my axle and just set it in there. JB weld's really good for holding these axles in place, as it won't run like some other super glues. I'll get my jig and just place it in there. And it's kind of cool because it'll stay put. You can actually do both wheels at the same time. But for this, I'm not going to worry about it. And for my spacing, I have a little piece of cardboard that I've cut off of a Hot Wheel package. I'll put it in one wheel And then I'll put it in the other, and this helps make sure the wheels keep their spacing while the JB Weld holds. I'll apply a little bit of pressure just to make sure it gets down there. And normally I'll find something fairly heavy and put on there to help hold it down. So just like that, I got both wheels set in there. I got the JB Weld in there. I got my little pieces of cardboard, help keeping my wheels where I want them. Get my fishing weight on there. And you just put it on. You don't need a whole lot of weight. Just as long as it's in there, helps keep the pressure down on the wheels. But yeah, this jig is awesome. The cool thing about it is this piece right here will slide back and forth. So no matter how long your car is that you're working on, it'll always be in the right spot to get these wheels in place. So highly recommend it. Redline Derby Racing. Go over to their website, check it out, and you pick these up for pretty cheap. So go check them out. Well worth the money. This Frontrunnin Fairmont is all put back together. So let's see how it all turned out. Oh yeah, check that out. Went with the Hooters theme on here. Pretty sweet. It actually went really well with the car. And really happy with the way it turned out. Now I know these aren't the same wheels I had on there. The wheels I had on there were just too small. And it kind of looked like, you ever see somebody raise their truck but leave the original street tires on there? Yeah, that's how it looked. So I needed a wheel that kind of filled up the wheel well a little bit better in the back. And I went with these. I'm kind of running low on custom wheels, so this is kind of the best I could come up with, but I think it kind of goes with it. The outline looks a little bit orange, and it kind of goes with the paint, so I'm digging it. Pretty cool. So let's take a closer look. Here's what we started out with. A $1 eBay fine. That's not counting shipping. That was in pretty rough shape. This Frontrunnin Fairmont was pretty beat up with all four wheels pretty much locked up. And now we give it a new lease on life. Check that out. This paint scheme is from 1992 when Alan Kowiki won the NASCAR championship. If you don't know who Alan Kowiki is, oh my God, what a story. It's beautiful and tragic all at the same time. In 1992, Kowiki overcame a 278-point deficit with 6 races remaining to capture the NASCAR championship. He had 2 wins, 11 top 5s, and 17 top 10s to defeat Bill Elliott by only 10 points. At the time, the tightest championship margin in series history. The final race of 1992 was the Hooters 500, which was in Atlanta. And to start that race, 6 drivers were in contention to win the championship. That race is also significant, as it was Richard Petty's final race and Jeff Gordon's very first race. Kowiki came in second in that race to Bill Elliott, but because Kowiki led 1 more lap than Bill Elliott throughout the race, he obtained enough points to win the championship. What a race. Unfortunately, 4 months later, Kowiki died in a plane crash and would never get the chance to defend his title in the 1993 season. Definitely an amazing story. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and we will see you on the next one.